It seems like it's got us all by a chokehold.
Much more than we thought. We assumed we were going to forfeit that game and pick up next season, game number 1, and game number 1 never came.
We'll take it up to the Supreme Court if we have to. This is an important enough fight. It's a battle that's not over yet.
And if we don't play by their rules, they just eliminate us.
It's remarkable the state doesn't understand that a Christian school wants to be Christian. It's like, it's okay to be Christian, but don't act that way.
So knowing what you know now, again, dealing with these repercussions for 2 years, I mean, was this worth it? What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining the Gains for Girls podcast. Excited that you're here. Make sure you go to outkick.com. That's where you will find all things Gains for Girls. Like, comment, subscribe, share these episodes far and wide. It really does help. Today's guest, it's a story I've been following for, over 2 years now. And if you can remember, which I know you can, 2 years ago, it wasn't cool to say what now is, I think, a little cooler. I don't think the wind is necessarily behind us, behind the sails here, but it's more acceptable in being bold enough to say that there are two sexes, that men and women are different, that you can't change your sex, that each sex is deserving of equal opportunity, of privacy in areas of undressing and safety. But 2 years ago, it wasn't as cool. So I've been following this story for a while. We're going to get into it. But before we do, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It is Cozy Earth. Their sheets, amazing, so breathable. You will never sleep better than you do when you have Cozy Earth sheets touching your body. I've got their pajamas, incredible. Again, I sleep really cool too. I think that's the best thing about it. It's like temperature regulated, enhanced fabric. The softness is amazing. Responsible production too, which does matter. All of their products are produced very responsibly, and the durability and commitment to quality. You can check it out at CozyEarth.com. Use my code GAINS, GAINES, for 40% off. Again, 40% off. That's a big deal. They have a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. That's how much I believe in them. That's how much they believe in themselves. You won't want to return this. You won't want to make that return. But again, it's there for you if you so wish. Check it out at CozyEarth.com. Today we are going to be talking to a coach by the name of Coach Goodwin and his attorney, Dave, here at ADF. ADF has been phenomenal. We've covered several of their plaintiffs, several of their lawsuits that they've put forward on the basis of religious liberty, free speech. We've had Sophia Laurie on the podcast, who sued a library for kicking her out based on, again, the topic of allowing men and women's sports, a speech she was giving at the library. I believe we've had Blake Allen on the podcast, another athlete actually out of Vermont, which is where this story comes from. Mid Vermont Christian School. Again, this is in White River Junction, Vermont. Back in February of 2023, this Christian school, again, emphasis on the word Christian here, ultimately decided to forfeit a game where they knew they would be playing against a team that had a male athlete on the opposing team. They said, look, in short, this jeopardizes the fairness of the game, the safety of our players, and of course, it's an infringement on what we believe to be biblically true. So really great stuff they're doing. They were really one of the first ones to stand up for women's sports, the preservation of fairness in this way, by ultimately boycotting, by forfeiting. Since then, we've seen it in many different sports and different arenas. We just had Stephanie Turner on a few episodes ago. I encourage you to go listen to that episode, the fencer, who so bravely defended herself. So awesome things. Again, they're defending our First Amendment rights, free speech, religious liberty. Great stuff. Check out the episode with Coach Goodwin and his attorney from ADF, Dave, here. Okay, well, Chris and Dave, thank you very much for joining the Gains for Girls podcast. This story that we're going to be talking about that you guys have had to live is something that I know myself and people across the nation, across the world have been following for over a year now. So, Chris, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about how you found yourself in the position that you're now in.
Yeah, the backstory. Over 2 years ago now, middle of our season, we're at an away game, and I'm chatting with the coach before the game. And he brings up the fact, he says, hey, do you know there's, he said, a dude playing for one of the girls' teams in our division. And that was all news to me. I didn't know that. So we talked about it for a little bit. He expressed how frustrated he was about it and how frustrated his girls were, and also how angry they were that they had to play against a male athlete. So, and I do remember a couple things he said to me that day. He said, I can't do anything about it because if I say something, I'll lose my job. I won't be coaching anymore. And if he's a teacher in the school, right, his income's gone as well. But I remember him saying to me, but you can do something about it. So, we didn't play that team during the regular season, but we were keeping an eye on it to see where we were going to be in the playoffs, how we were going to be seeded. And we were watching it. And as it got closer, we did see that there was the possibility we'd end up being seeded against them. And when it did happen, we had already had the conversations with the administration, with the parents, with the students about how we were going to handle that, especially since we already contacted the state about 2 weeks before the end of the season to say, hey, is there any way around this at all? Reseeding, anything? And they said no. It's pretty much a hard no. So once the seedings came out, the seedings come out one day, we're supposed to play 2 days later. We sent a letter to the VPA and to the other school and said, hey, we're going to bow out and we're going to forfeit this game.
Plain simple enough. To which, of course, what was the response you got from that?
Yeah, it was a short letter. We did write to them telling them that we were going to forfeit the game. And literally about a week after that, they just removed us from all athletic competitions within the state. So none of the sports, not just girls basketball, but all boys sports, all girls sports, all non-sport activities, like science fairs and spelling bees and things like that. They just completely removed us. It was quite the consequence, much more than we thought. We assumed we were going to forfeit that game and pick up next season, game number 1, and game number 1 never came.
Crazy. And so even still, the teams, basketball and beyond, aren't able to participate against other schools.
So for 2 years, the state has kept us out of all state competitions. Going into the third year, so unless something changes in the courts, we will be out a third straight year, and so on and so on. And we played in the league for literally 25 years without any incidents. In this one event where we forfeited a game, they laid down the hammer.
So knowing what you know now, again, dealing with these repercussions for 2 years, let's say you were faced with this again. If even given the opportunity, which now, you, at this point, as it stands, you don't even have the opportunity to face this again. But let's say you did. Was this worth it to you and to your team?
Yeah. Anytime you're going to stand up for what you believe in, and when someone's a bully and tries to make you compromise your beliefs, bow down to that, their orthodoxy. They're trying to tell us that a male athlete on the basketball court is a girl, right? And they say, go play. And if you refuse to play against male athletes, then you're just not going to play at all. And if we don't play by their rules, they just eliminate us basically from all athletic competition. So yeah, we would do the same thing again. Our hope would be at the least to just have the opportunity to forfeit games or not play those games when there's a male athlete on the other side and just move on. But they won't even do that. We take the loss. We suffer the consequence of that loss on our record. And that's not enough for them. They're like, no, out.
So with the ruling that they gave, is there an end in sight, or is this just indefinite? Is there an amount of time that you guys are, your school is barred from participating, or is it just indefinite as it stands now?
Yeah, I'll let Dave answer that one. But as of now, we're out indefinitely. They would probably never change unless we changed our mind and went along with their rules. Then we'd be banned indefinitely. But I'm sure Dave can answer that better too.
Yeah, that's the incredible part about it. It was a permanent expulsion, not just for the season, and not just for their sport, every sport. But unless the court rules otherwise and stops them from doing so, the school is out perpetually unless they agree to violate their religious beliefs and then go back on their word and like they wouldn't do it the first time. So it's an incredible.
So Dave, you guys now brought a lawsuit forward. You mentioned, your religious freedoms, religious liberty. Is that the basis of this lawsuit that you're pursuing, again, from a Christian school?
It is, and it's remarkable the state doesn't understand that a Christian school wants to be Christian. It's okay to be Christian, but don't act that way, which is, we get a lot from society. But yeah, it ended up, like the coach said, there was really no other choice. I mean, imagine how crippling it would be to any school to say, all your sports are gone, all your academics, spelling bees and debate clubs. I mean, the punishment, the court, one of the judges in the oral argument we just did last week said, this feels pretty punitive. And it really is, because it was the harshest penalty ever meted out in the history of sports. So this is going on 30 years. The school has participated in the state sports league. Never before have they kicked anyone out of the league, never mind permanently, and never mind for every single team and academic club. So the only way to get through this is to go to federal court and say, look, this is a violation of our constitutional rights. And so we're still fighting that battle.
Now, how do you feel about the case in the courts that it's in now? My understanding is it's in a pretty liberal district. We saw even just today where New Hampshire, there was a federal judge that ruled that two fathers are not allowed to wear pink wristbands that simply denote XX, again, the female chromosomes. As he said, this was a demeaning and a harassing assertion, which is, again, utterly insane. So how do you feel about this case in the court that it's in?
Yeah, I think we've got a good chance. We just argued at the Court of Appeals, which is a 3-judge panel in New York City. We lost below at the district court. And I think we've got a better chance now that the appellate courts see these type of cases more often, and I think sometimes appreciate the constitutional implications a little bit more. But as you said, it's really the diminishing of not only religious beliefs, but common sense often. This issue that you could be punished because you believe that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl transcends religion. I mean, obviously it is the basis of their religious beliefs, and that's the most important thing here. But just biology and just the truth in what we see is now words don't mean what they mean. It's just quite incredible. So I saw that what you mentioned, and we have a similar case, out of Massachusetts, where a boy went to school and had a T-shirt on that said there are only 2 genders, and the same thing happened. They said, well, that's demeaning, and you can't speak. So not only are your freedom of religion rights being violated, your freedom of speech rights are now being violated, and yet the schools and the state get to push the other side of it. So they get to say a boy can become a girl, and you can't say I disagree. They get to say there's an unlimited number of genders. You can't disagree and say there's only 2, even though science agrees. So it's really incredible. The speech police are out there and in full force.
That's the truth. And you guys, if I remember correctly, had a case of, I believe, Blake and Travis Allen out of Vermont as well, who, in a similar fashion, a boy was allowed to join their volleyball team. Blake and her teammates opposed this. She went to the administrator. She was then suspended from school, forced to apologize, which she wasn't willing to do. Her father was the soccer coach. He was ousted from his job for going to Facebook to post about this and using the incorrect pronouns. So the speech police feels very accurate.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that too is the boy in that case was going into the girls' locker room. So it wasn't just a matter of, hey, he's on a team. He's invading their private personal spaces. So they object to that, and then they're the ones who get in trouble. What happened to protecting girls? What happened to the Me Too? But what happened to all these things? We have to be careful, right, in how we treat our girls and women, which we should. But then we have them in violent physical contact sports, being elbowed and giving concussions, and a boy who's 6'2", 6'3" against these girls. What happened to treating women like we should? What happened to respect? It's just it all goes out the window for this political ideology.
Which that's another thing, Chris. It's not something I had to necessarily worry about in my sport when I was faced with this of swimming, because obviously you're not colliding with one another, you're not running into one another, you're not throwing something at one another. But safety is a big part of it in basketball. I mean, do you have experience with both boys basketball and girls basketball?
Yeah, it extends out of who they are as boys and girls. So when I coach boys basketball, it literally takes me a few minutes to get used to watching them run up and down the court because it's such a different speed. It's just different. And I'm trying to picture my daughter, who's a freshman this year, and my son, who was a senior last year. And if I told my daughter, hey, get in there and take a charge when he's going to the basket, she'll end up in the hospital if she tries to take a charge. she'll just get collided with and run over. So the physical difference is, so if there's a boy who's got 30, 40, 50% more strength and force when he's running and going to the basket, and you've got a female athlete who's going to receive that, and she only has the ability to receive that blow with 30, 40, 50% less. It's just a matter of size and strength. And like I said, injuries are going to happen. And when I did see that male athlete come down with an elbow on that one girl who he was playing against, he didn't mean to, but that's just what's going to happen. And again, she missed 3 weeks of the season. I talked to the coach about it because I knew who he was a few times. And he said, yeah, she missed 3 weeks and she's a great kid. And he wanted to say something about it. And the athletic director said, you can say something, but you won't be coaching here anymore. So that's the environment that the administrations have over the coaches and the players in the state right now.
And the thing is, I would imagine, truthfully, most Americans who feel the way that we feel, I mean, the ones who have common sense, really, in their own personal lives have some sort of experience, again, with the silencing that comes with the cultural chaos that's really plaguing this country, whether it's in their corporate jobs, whether it is in academia, whether it's in healthcare. I mean, whatever realm it seems to be. I mean, it seems like it's got us all by a chokehold. But I mean, what's the response you've had since you took this stand, since you filed your lawsuit? Like, have you had, I mean, I'm sure I've seen the support online. I hope that you're seeing that as well. But with that, of course, comes negative. So how has that been for you guys?
It's been great. I have liberal friends who will disagree probably on almost every conservative principle that someone might hold. But when it comes to this issue, they're all in. They're like, yeah, Chris, obviously you're doing the right thing. So support has been pretty much universal. In the cultures, the pendulum swinging a little bit, right, with the election and how things have gone. So I think I have some customers who I work with, and before they would whisper to me about this stuff, they would make sure they'd look around and, make sure that no one was hearing the conversation. And they don't do that anymore. So that's a positive sign, right? Everybody gets it. I think they're slowly all getting on board and recognizing that male athletes should not be competing against female athletes.
You mentioned beginning to get on board. I mean, you guys were really like the first, I mean, one of the first, if not the first, to start this growing boycott, which is what I call it, with on the word boy, growing boycott movement in women and girls sports. So how does it feel to know it's now catching fire? We've seen this in volleyball. Again, you have the safety aspect there you have to worry about. In the Mountain West Conference, where 5 Division I NCAA teams decided to forfeit against San Jose State University. We've seen it in West Virginia, the shot put throwers. I mean, 5 middle school girls, they're so young. I cannot believe this is a mantle that they now have to carry. We've seen it in disc golf. We've seen it in fencing just recently. So how does it feel to kind of be that trailblazer and to now know it's catching fire?
Yeah, it feels really good to be able to stand up for something, and you feel like you're on an island at the beginning. But now it's like almost every day there's a new story where someone is standing up and saying, hey, this isn't right. And again, it feels, is the wind at our backs a little bit. It's not gale force yet, but it just feels like everybody is coalescing around the idea that it's not right. And I'm hoping with our case, hopefully it gets decided in the way that would help us out and get us back into the league. But I'm hoping that this issue will be put to bed in a couple of years, and we'll just recognize that.
And I want to jump in just to congratulate the coach and the girls and the school. It's when it's popular and everybody's doing it, it's okay. But when you're the first to jump out and everybody's criticizing you and saying, calling you all kinds of names, and you say, look, this is what's right. And I'm going to do what's right, regardless of the heat that I take, regardless of the penalty. I mean, look at the penalty. I think the worst I've ever seen across the country in all these instances. Other teams, like you mentioned, have forfeited games and nothing ever happens to them. Here, it was the most extreme penalty you can imagine. So the fact that the school and the coach took this stand and stood by it when it wasn't popular, to me, is a pretty cool thing. I mean, I met, a bunch of the girls this past week. The basketball team came down to the court with us, and we spent a couple of days together. And it's just a great example to them, to be an adult like the coach is in the school and say, look, there's going to be hard things in life, and you should stand up for those things, even if you're going to face some heat and you're going to have some difficulties. So it's just one thing I just wanted to call out the coach in the school just to say we're all proud of you guys for taking such a stand, allowing us to stand there with you, because it like you said, Riley, it flows, and you've done the same thing, taking a stand, going across the country, speaking, and doing all the activities you've been doing, and so we just certainly appreciate that. And sometimes it catches up to you, and people always talk about whether you're on the right side of history or not, but when you do the right thing, you always are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and those girls you mentioned, I think they were in desperate need of good leadership, of people in those authority positions to protect them. Because ultimately, as I see it, as a coach, as a principal, as a teacher, that's part of the job description, are protecting and defending those students, those student athletes. So it's really, you guys have been the embodiment of courage. And what we know, what's been proven, whether it's this issue or any issue, is that courage begets courage. And that there's certainly strength in numbers. And that's what you guys have been able to really foster and build out. So, I guess last thing for you, Dave, what's next for you guys? What's the next step here? What can we expect? How can we support you?
Yeah, so we're going to be hopefully a quick decision from the Court of Appeals. And people may know that's the level right below the Supreme Court. So hopefully they've seen the gravity of the punishment. They mentioned it, a couple of the judges at the argument. So we're hoping for an opinion pretty soon that'll get the school back in. That's what we asked for, is to put them back in all of the sports, boys and girls, and all the activities. So hopefully that happens. If it doesn't, then we'll take it up to the Supreme Court if we have to. This is an important enough fight. It's a battle that's not over yet. I think the tide is turning, but you still have a lot of people, as you mentioned, Riley, they're digging their heels in. The people running our schools, you have a lot of times the media, you have Hollywood, there's so much, so much headwinds against this that we're just going to keep going. And so hopefully we'll get a good opinion soon. If not, we'll just keep fighting until we do.
Been brought to light recently, what's been dubbed as these activist judges. And I think that's what we've seen. I won't speak to your case specifically, of course, I don't want to hinder anything, but across the board, what we have seen at virtually every level, local, all the way up to federal. I think it really can only be described as activist judges. So we will continue supporting you guys. Of course, your efforts to preserve fairness, preserve safety, preserve the dignity of women and girls in sports and beyond. So thank you for your fight, for your courage. We'll be watching.
Well, thanks for having us. I appreciate all that you do.
Of course.